When I bought my house, one thing stood out immediately. The property backed up to a luxury neighborhood with a massive community swimming pool. It never bothered me. The pool was separated from my yard by a 6-foot privacy fence, and everyone seemed to respect the property line. Or so I thought. One Monday morning, I walked into my backyard with a cup of coffee and heard an unfamiliar humming sound. It wasn't loud, but it definitely hadn't been there before. I followed the noise to the back corner of my property. Hidden behind a row of shrubs sat a brand-new concrete pad with a large pool pump and electrical equipment mounted on it. I stared at it for several seconds. It was clearly inside my fence, inside my property line. Someone had actually built a commercial-sized pool pump station in my backyard. Without asking, without notifying me, I checked my security cameras. 3 days earlier, while I was away visiting family, a construction crew had entered through the unlocked rear maintenance gate. They poured concrete, installed electrical wiring, mounted the pump, then left as if they owned the place. The next morning, I walked over to the HOA office carrying printed survey maps and copies of my property deed. Karen, the HOA president, barely looked up from her desk. "Can I help you?" I placed a survey on the counter. "You built a pool pump on my land." She smiled. "It's only a few feet." I blinked. "That's your explanation." She shrugged. "It serves the entire neighborhood." I reminded her that community equipment doesn't magically become legal because it's useful. She folded her arms. "Our contractor said the location was convenient." I answered calmly, "My property isn't a convenience." Karen insisted moving the equipment would be expensive. I replied, "That sounds like a problem you should have considered before building it." She refused to discuss it further. Instead, I received a letter 2 days later demanding I grant permanent access to HOA maintenance crews. They actually wanted me to sign an easement giving them legal rights to enter my backyard forever. I wasn't signing anything. Instead, I hired a licensed land surveyor. Within hours, fresh boundary stakes confirmed exactly what I already knew. The entire concrete foundation sat nearly 6 feet inside my property, every inch of it. Armed with the updated survey, I contacted the county building department. An inspector agreed to visit later that week. Karen seemed completely unconcerned. When the inspector arrived, he first reviewed the survey documents. Then he measured the equipment himself. Finally, he examined the electrical installation. His expression changed immediately. He asked one simple question: "Where's the building permit?" Karen couldn't answer. The contractor wasn't there. Neither was anyone from the construction company. The inspector kept taking photographs. Then he noticed something even worse. The electrical disconnect and equipment clearance didn't meet county code because the installation had been squeezed into the wrong location. The inspector turned toward Karen. "This entire installation is unpermitted and located on private property." She tried arguing that the HOA approved the project. He interrupted politely. "The HOA doesn't issue county permits." That conversation ended very quickly. By the following afternoon, the county issued multiple correction notices. The HOA could not legally operate the equipment until every violation had been resolved. The community pool closed temporarily. Residents were frustrated, but once they learned why, most blamed the board, not me. Several neighbors even apologized. They admitted they assumed the HOA had obtained proper approval before construction. A week later, contractors returned. This time, they weren't installing anything. They were removing everything: the pump, the pipes, the electrical equipment, even the concrete foundation. Every piece had to come out. Afterward, the disturbed section of my backyard was professionally restored with new soil, fresh sod, and replacement landscaping. The HOA also reimbursed me for the independent survey, legal consultation, and property restoration costs through a settlement. Karen quietly resigned as HOA president a month later. The board elected new leadership, and the first decision they made was simple. Before approving any future construction, they required certified surveys, county permits, and written permission from every affected property owner. Looking back, the most surprising part wasn't that someone built expensive equipment on my land. It was how confidently they expected me to simply accept it. Property lines exist for a reason. They aren't suggestions. They are legal boundaries. And sometimes, All it takes to remind people of that is one county inspector carrying a measuring tape and a clipboard.